So the other day I posted a TikTok thinking what I thought was the best arcs in each series. And for Blue Lock, I put the U20 arc, expecting not a lot of people to disagree with me. Surprisingly, in the comments, I got so many people telling me that the NEL arc is better than the U20 arc. And to that, I just have to say, that's just peak delusion. So anyways, today I'm going to be ending the debate between what's better, the NEL arc or the U20 arc. If you guys like this type of content, please remember that like and subscribe. Without further ado, let's get right into this video. For starters, I want to preface by saying I am not a NEL arc hater. I actually like the arc. I think it is an enjoyable arc, but in no way do I think it is the peak of Blue Lock, and I'm going to tell you exactly why in this video. My first point would have to be the stakes of each arc. Now, if we talk about the stakes in the NEL, there aren't really that many stakes. The only stakes are, if you're at the bottom of the list with one of the lowest salaries, you could get eliminated for good. But those stakes even get reversed later on, whereas we see the player who got eliminated, the biggest player who got eliminated, Nagi Seishiro, is on his way back to Blue Lock. So these stakes have immediately been invalidated. Not to mention the fact that none of our real main characters, aside from Nagi, really had much fear of being eliminated in the first place. Isagi was never in danger, Rin was never in danger, Batra was never in danger, and then you're probably going to tell me, oh, Extendo, but these are the best players in the program. Of course they're not going to be lower to the bottom. I know that, but that's exactly what I'm saying. The stakes for this arc are a lot less than the stakes for something like U20, where we go into the game immediately knowing that if we lose this game, if we slip up in this match, we will be liquidated. Blue Lock will be done. The story will end. The stakes in this U20 game was high, especially considering that we will be playing the Japanese U20 team, a real professional team, whereas Blue Lock was just a small program at this point. And not to mention, they also added a new Gen 11 player like Sai Itoshi on their team, which raised the stakes even higher because it's like, bro, this guy's better than our whole team. Not to mention, Shido, our second best player, ends up joining to help them. So not only was the best player on the pitch playing on that team, our second best player was playing on that team. So that just goes to show you how much build up and how much stakes were behind this game and tension was created around the U20 game. And due to this tension that was created, it made the outcome of the U20 game and all the big moments be that much more impactful, because we know that these are ultimately building to making Blue Lock survive and go global. Because after this, if we lose, we're liquidated. But if we win, Blue Lock goes worldwide. Everybody is put on notice. That is the thing that makes the U20 arc just, I think, objectively way more tense of an arc than the NEL arc. But the next thing I want to talk about is the impact, which I mentioned earlier. Like I said, since these stakes are so high, it builds into the impact of each moment. Now, one would probably argue that the NEL probably has higher highs than the U20 arc. And I would possibly agree with you, but I will also say that when you see a person score in the NEL versus seeing a person score in the U20 game, especially for the Blue Lock 11, it is that much more hype. And I'll tell you exactly why that is. The reason why it is more hype when you see, let's say, Borrow's goal in the U20 arc rather than Borrow's goal maybe in the NEL arc is because if Borrow loses this game or doesn't perform, it doesn't hurt him. Like I said, the stakes build up all this tension and all these impact. It allows for all these hype moments to hit that much harder because you know what's at stake here. So when Barros comes in, while Blue Lock are literally on the back heel, while Shido's taking over the game and it's looking dire, but Barros subs into the game and completely reignites that flame, guys, that is hitting so much harder than Barrow's moment in the NEL. Now, the reason why Barrow's moment in the NEL was, I'd say, better written, it has to do with character development, dynamic with Snuffy, and stuff like that. But if we're talking about just overall impact, hype, how you felt during reading both moments, like regarding of just writing, just straight your emotions, you cannot tell me that Barrow's goal in the U20 arc was not more impactful and more hype than both of his goals in the NEL. Because if you're saying that, then I don't know. Maybe that's just my opinion and your opinion. We differ. But in my personal humble opinion, I feel like every single moment in the U20 arc is going to automatically hit more or make me more hype, make me jump more in joy than in the NEL arc just because of the pre-established stakes and tension. I know what's at stake here, so I know that whenever somebody does something crazy, this is making a huge difference. Rather than if we look at, let's say, Kaiser's bicycle kick, right? Yes, Kaiser scores that bicycle kick, finally gets away from Lorenzo. It's a hype moment. It's a great goal. But guys, we have to understand, we cannot even compare that to Nagi's first goal in the U20 because Nagi's goal is just like, it's our first goal. We're down 1-0 in the biggest game of our lives versus, oh, we're down 1-0 in just like NEL basically friendly because we know none of these guys are going to get eliminated even if we lose. Another thing I want to talk about is consistency. Now, consistency is one of my main points and why I think the NEL like struggles a lot compared to the U20 arc. If you read the average chapter of an NEL arc or the average chapter of the U20 arc, you will notice that on average, the U20 arc chapters are a lot better and or they probably advance the story a lot more and the game a lot more than the average NEL chapter. The pacing in the NEL, I'm sorry guys, there is no need for us to have 3 games at the length of basically the U20 arc in the NEL arc. We don't need that. The U20 arc is the biggest game of the entire manga, and it justifies that by being also the longest. These games do not justify being that long. Maybe PXG versus Bastard Munchen because it's the last battle between the two of the undefeated teams. But why is Uber's game damn near 30 chapters long? Why is Manshine damn near 30 chapters long? Now, of course, I enjoyed the pacing in the Manshine game more than both of the other games. All the other games, in fact. But I still think that the Manshine game has fluff, just like the Uber's game, and definitely the PXG game. Most of these games are just filled to the brim with a lot of hype moments. But I feel like when U20 did it, it was like every time a team went down to the other end to try and score a goal, you knew in the back of your head that there was a chance, that there was a small, tiny chance that they would be able to score this goal. And that's why you were interested. But I found myself during the NEL arc seeing, the structure of the NEL arc and how these games have gotten to go. I just knew some possessions that, he's not scoring here. It's not going to happen. These guys aren't going to score. In the back of my head, I would never outright say it, but I knew in my head, I was like, okay, this guy's definitely not scoring. He's going to get blocked. You know what I'm saying? But when we look at U20, it was like when Sai dishes the ball off to Aiku when he's right in front of the net. There was a genuine chance he could score from there. He just got his flow state moment. He's going crazy. When Shido just almost scores against Gagamaru, who has to make that handstand save. Bro, all these moments are moments where I'm like, they could score. I'm not going to lie. Like, I'm interested. I'm invested. The NEL does not have that level of consistency throughout the match. Throughout the match, you will have peak moments, right? There are peak moments when they do score. But when players are not scoring, there is rarely a high moment. I feel like the only match that gets these high moments when players are not scoring and is as consistent probably as U20 is the Manshine game. But aside from that, there are 4 games in this arc. And one of them happens to be the Ubers and PXG and Barcha game. I'm not even going to talk about the Barcha game because I think that game is definitely one of the lower end of the Blue Lock games in the entire manga. But we're not even going to talk about that. I just want to talk about the 2 or 3 big main ones. I feel like in terms of consistency, Manshine definitely is the most consistent. But if we talk about just highest peaks and stuff like that, of course PXG gets it. But at the end of the day, that doesn't account for the arc being over 200 or like 100 something chapters long. And it's just filled with so much fluff and predictability that the U20 arc just never had. This next point is going to be about predictability. And with the predictability, it stems off my last point where I think the NEL is just horribly predictable. You know that the game is up to 3 goals, which means approximately each team approximately has around 3 to 2 very important players on their team, with the exception of like Bastard Munchen, right? That is the only team that probably has more than that. While we have other teams where when we're playing against them, we know that all these teams are only going to max get 2 goals. And if it's a team like Uber's where they only have 1 goal scorer, you're going into that game already expecting, okay, Barrow's going to pick up 2 goals. Whenever Nico shoots the ball, it's not going in. Whenever Lorenzo shoots the ball, it's not going in. Whenever anybody else on the Ubers will shoot the ball or do anything, it's not going in. Want to know why? Because you know damn well Borrow is going to get his moment. This match is just built for Borrow. Now, in contrast to the U20 game, guys, tell me that this game feels like a real game that you're watching. It feels like everybody on the field can score. It feels like every shot that gets blocked by the keeper or blocked by a defender that goes up into the air has real consequences, you know? Like that time when Yuki Miya's shot was blocked, and then it went all the way up in the air. We then see Nagi pick up the ball and score that same play. Like, guys, I'm telling you right now that the arc in the U20 arc is not only less predictable, but also involves more characters. It utilizes its entire lineup to do something at some point in the game, while also using basically the opponent's entire lineup. While even though the opponent had like 3 or 4 relevant players, but Kaneshiro was able to make it seem like they were playing 11v11. That is not the case in the NEL. Definitely not. And these are huge flaws, what ultimately makes some of these games in the NEL feel kind of like formulaic. Like they feel formulaic, and they feel like they're just playing with a bunch of blue lock mans on the pitch and not real players. It doesn't feel like that. I feel like every team has their set like 4 players that they're going to play with, and you know that star player is going to get 1 goal, the second star player probably get 1 goal, and then Isagi's team's going to win every single time. That is another point that I really want to get into, guys. The fact that Isagi's team, Bastard Munchen, went undefeated in the NEL arc is quite literally ridiculous. I'm sorry. Going into almost every game of the NEL after the Manshine game, everybody thought that Bastard would lose to Ubers because Ubers is a better team that's constructed objectively, right? And then everyone, after they beat Ubers, thought they had a chance to lose to PXG. That also didn't happen. And then you're sitting here wondering, how the hell is Isagi just winning every time? This is so predictable. Like, you could see it coming a mile away. The score is going to be 2-1, and one team's going to come back and win it. Most likely Isagi's team. Most likely, it is always Isagi's team that needs to make the 2-1 or 2-2 comeback. They're always going to get the last goal for 3-2. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter who they're playing. The first 2 games alone solidify the fact. But after they beat Ubers, I'm sorry, guys, there was almost no doubt in my brain that after Rin scored in the PXG game, it was over. It was over. Bastard Munchen won. Want to know why? Because I know damn well that the author was glazing the shit out of Isagi in this NEL arc. And I'm not even, it sounds like I'm just hating. But guys, I'm being so real. If you be real with yourself, look at yourself in the mirror and be real with yourself for a second. Ask yourself, hey, did I think that the arc was predictable? Yes or no? I guarantee you somewhere deep down in your heart, you definitely see the same thing I'm saying. But listen, I'm just saying this as a fact to say that in contrast, again, you see how everything I'm saying is in contrast with the U20 arc and the NEL, because the U20 arc is literally the contract, the stark contrast of all these things in the NEL, just done much better. Done much better. It's not even close. It's not even close. You know, when you look at the U20 arc, it's like, you don't know when you're going into that game, you have no clue who could score. All these players feel like MCs, and I feel like Blue Lock has lost that a little bit. It doesn't feel like every single character is an MC anymore. It feels like, yes, Isagi is probably the only MC. Whereas back in the day, it really felt like Borrow was the MC, Rin was the MC, Nagi was the MC, Bachiro could have an MC moment, Chigiri could have an MC moment. There was just MCs all over the field. That's what it felt like. It didn't feel like the show had a real MC. But of course, yes, that also goes into Isagi's evolution of, oh, he's become better, so now he's becoming the role of protagonist. But I'm telling you guys right now, the U20 arc just does a lot of these things 10 times better than the NE arc. In conclusion, I feel like the U20 arc is better built up, set up, and has higher stakes than the NEL arc, which also leads to it having a better impact with its big moments. Even though the NEL probably has higher highs in terms of writing, the impact for the U20 arc's moments just hits that much more because of its previously set up stakes, tension, and build-up. Another thing that I have to note is the consistency of the U20 arc where every single chapter is a consistent great chapter, whereas the NEL arc could have a lot of chapters with fluff and a lot of games with just poor pacing. Another thing is the predictability between the NEL arc and the U20 arc. I think the U20 arc is a lot less predictable than the NEL arc's structural format with the 3 goals. And finally, the conclusion, where I think the U20 arc completely clears the NEL arc and it isn't even close. But yeah, man, if you guys like this type of content, please remember that like and subscribe. Please let me know what you think I got wrong, what you think I got right in this video. What do you think about this video in general? I'd like to hear your thoughts. Try and debate with each other in the comments, whether you want to or not. And yeah, man, I hope you guys all have a great day. Goodbye.